Hey everybody and welcome back. Hope your guys' Tuesday went pretty well. Alright, let's jump right into the news. So it looks like a Georgia teen was sentenced to 40 years behind bars for killing a man for his PlayStation 4 in a Craigslist robbery back in 2014. So I guess the story went, after selling their own PS4 to pay rent, Nathaniel Vivian and his girlfriend Kayla Dixon, at the time 16, plotted to rob a new console in a Craigslist scheme in 2014. So now Dixon admitted to firing a bullet through her boyfriend's hand and Danny Zietz's chest during the robbery, killing the seller. She says here, "I would trade anything, almost anything to bring Daniel back, but I know I can't. I know he had plans. I wish I could tell him I am so sorry that this has happened, but I can't." So I guess the cops busted them after they rushed to the Northside Hospital, where they claimed they were victims of a robbery, which obviously it was the other way around. So obviously it was not a very well planned PlayStation 4 mugging. They were looking how to rob someone on YouTube and texting back and forth, making sure to delete their messages. Now, if they're unaware, you can easily get erased text messages back. It's not that hard to do, so I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. And obviously, how to rob somebody on YouTube, I really don't know why you would do this, because anything you type in on Google, they can trace back to you and your IP address. So I really don't get why they would do that. So it looks like when they met up with him, they clutched onto his console, and Dixon opened fire, shooting through the hand, obviously, of the boyfriend and hitting Zietz in the chest. So she has a 16-month-old baby at the time, sitting in the back seat of the car during the shooting. And after pleading guilty, Dixon apologized to the family, telling she hopes one day my apology will matter. Oh well. And the killer's boyfriend's trial is expected to begin this summer. So it looks like Dixon said she was willing to testify against Vivian. So, alright. I do remember this, actually. I do recall, I don't know if I made a video on it or not. I just can't believe, like, somebody would rob somebody else, especially a young kid. I forgot his name already. It was Zietz. For a PlayStation 4. I really don't get this at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I really hope, like, the family, they created a GoFundMe page in 2014 and raised $23,684. So it's not like people didn't care about it. Really cool by the family, or people to donate to the family of this. I still can't believe anybody would just do this. Like, I really don't get it. It's a PlayStation 4. It's a video game console. It's worth $350 now, brand new. Is it really worth somebody's life and 40 plus years in prison for this? No, it's not. So I really don't get it. It's not even anything of, like, value. It's just a cheap thing. Like, not robbing anybody is a good thing or anything, but, like, it's a PlayStation 4. It's a physical item that does absolutely nothing for you. And it's just a screwed up situation is what it is. I'm kind of glad they brought the books down hard on her, because obviously she did admit that she did shoot him, and it's at least it's taken care of now, and hopefully they didn't say if she had parole eligibility or not, which I assume not, because it's basically murder. Actually, it is murder. It's not basically. So yeah, I can't wait to see, like, what she's gonna testify against Vivian for. Like, all right. Anyways, yeah. So moving on to the next piece of news. Alright, so it's a pretty long article, but it's basically what devs at E3 were saying about Scorpio and Neo, presumably PlayStation and Sony, you know. And some, I guess, are concerned, but they are keeping quiet because they don't want to they don't want to come out and physically say, like, oh, it's not what I think it should be this and that, and I don't like this thing because they're doing this. They don't want to come out and do that because they don't want to impact their relationship with Microsoft and Sony, but it looks like some of them are concerned with the way that they're going. And I guess an Xbox developer said the Project Scorpio deferred us to the Microsoft PR team. I was around the Microsoft press conference, only finding out that E3 without an advanced communication. So yeah, it looks like pretty much the same way with the Neo. A lot of developers are, like, concerned about it, and they don't really want to come out and physically say anything because they would ruin their partnership and relationship with Sony and Microsoft. Some of them might even not want this at all. I have no idea. Like, they just don't want to say anything that will ruin their relationship with them. So it looks like Morgan Jaft and Guidemili Provost, I don't know how to say their names, they made Hand of Fate 2, we are happy few. They said, basically, we already support players on PC, so we're already dealing with the breadth of benchmarks. This is no different. Then they went on to say, I think as long as the hardware architecture are one of the same family of hardware architecture and the general operating systems don't change, it's really just a question of scaling like we would do on PC. It's never going to be more complicated than on PC as long as the process, the operating systems, and certifications are the same. It's like supporting different revs for the same computer. He did say that Xbox releasing the more powerful consoles would make it easier for coworkers to improve their game's frame rate. He says, I think programmers and maybe artists will have some more work to do because they will have to upscale the graphics and make it look better. But for the games, it will be better. So I guess they talked with the volume developer Mike Bethiel for the PlayStation Neo and had exactly the same statements. He says, I like the way it expands what we can do, he says. I like the way we can show it off a bit more and do some cool things. So it looks like some developers are actually for it. It just will give them more work to do, but overall, the gameplay and stuff will be better. They looks like they're embracing the new consoles, it looks like, which is pretty good, I guess. They don't want to flop hard in their face, you know, for Sony and Microsoft. So I guess Jake Cazaldo of a 17-bit, he's the director, creative director, says that they'll have to support all versions of a given console makes him worried as a small developer for managing resources. He says, I think it's a tough sell. I remember back in the N64 days when I got that big cartridge thing to upgrade graphics power, but now the idea of forking out another $400 is something unappealing to players. Like, he agrees the thought of developing for multiple consoles and like different types of consoles is a bit scary. He wants players to have the best hardware possible, and he have both worked on PC development and anticipate the experience will be a best of use when trying to support the consoles. So basically, he's just a small team, and he's worried that he's not going to have enough resources to make the game. And also, the $400 price that they want again, 2.5, 3 years later down the road, it's not really the best fit for a lot of consumers. They're not going to want to fork over another $400 when you could put that into a nice gaming PC. Now, he didn't say that. I'm not taking words out of his mouth, but that's how I would put it anyways. Like, if you're going to spend $400, you might as well buy a gaming PC. I guess console makers still need to get the word out, because it looks like there are people walking around, or developers, I should say, at E3 that had no idea what Scorpio or the Neo was. Which, that is shocking, because they're on the inside and they, like, should know all these things, but maybe it's just not that well marketed yet at all. Like, they need to do a better job marketing it, because if they don't get the word out and say, hey, these are new consoles, the average consumer is just going to be really confused out of their mind, and they're not going to want to purchase the console. So, I don't know. I hope that the developers support it, and I hope they do, because it'll just make better games. And I hope Sony and Microsoft do a really good strategy here and actually keep the games true to their word that there's not going to have any special features on these new consoles. It will all be the same deal. When you buy the game, it will be the same. It will look the same on the next console. Maybe it will look just a touch better on the Xbox Scorpio. It's not going to be any significant difference. And I'm pretty sure developers, instead of going for 4K, they're going to go for the 1080p 60 frames per second. I talked about that in yesterday's video. Pretty cool stuff. It looks like the developers are on board for the most part. A lot of them are keeping quiet because they don't want to ruin their relationship, like I said. But it looks like most of them, a majority of them, are on board. I don't know about the small developers, though, but obviously because they don't have the resources and funds to do it. They might just develop for PC, or develop for the PlayStation 4, or develop just for the Xbox One. So you have no idea. It's a can of worms is what they're doing with this. They're putting all their eggs in one basket, is how I'm going to put it. If it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it's going to this is going to backfire on them if it doesn't sell well. And if it sells well, then that just opens the door again to having a new console every 3 years. Oh, maybe we'll try 2 years next time, or 1 year. I said the same thing in yesterday's video, but it's true. It's what will happen. And I don't want to see that happen because it would confuse the average consumer. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about in this video today, guys. Make sure to like this video, comment, rate, and subscribe, and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one.